Hey everybody, Seth Campbell here with the new Segue Says podcast. Well, this one is fresh off the presses in the sense that I only actually came up with this one last week, so I guess the hiatus has been good for something. At any rate, these are two fairly humorous songs, one by Steve Miller Band and the other by the Geils Band. A lot of bands involved. The Steve Miller Band song is Take the Money and Run, and the Geils Band song is Centerfold. Now both of these songs, straight up 4/4, with a G Mixolydian scale, which basically means there's an F chord involved. Flat 7 in the scale, for aspiring music nerds. The tempo is a little bit different, and I'm going to address that shortly in a couple of ways, but first let's just delve into the songs a little bit. Take the Money and Run is one of the bigger hits that Steve Miller Band had, probably behind The Joker and Fly Like an Eagle, but it's up there. Songs like Rockin' Me and all that. So, it's a great song. It's like much of Steve Miller Band songs, very humorous writing, somewhat goofy lyrics. But it's a sort of a classic story of Wild West outlaws with a twist. Basically, it's a story about a young couple who are bored and so decide to become bank robbers, basically. And it goes something like this. This is the story about Billy Joe and Bobby Sue, two young lovers, with nothing better to do and sit around the house all day, get high and watch the tube. Here's what happened when they decided to cut loose. They went down to old El Paso. It's where they ran into a great big hassle. Billy Joe shot a man while robbing his castle. Bobby Sue, she took the money and run. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Go on, take the money and run. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Go on, take the money and run. So you can hear the whole song is kind of based around this G, F, C pattern. And then it throws in this little B flat, F, G thing just to spice it up once in a while. But you know how I mentioned the Steve Miller Band tends to have humorous lyrics, like in The Joker, I speak on the papatus of love, which doesn't actually mean anything but confused a lot of people. Here's the third verse of this song, just because it's too funny to ignore. Willie Mack is a detective down in Texas. He knows just exactly what the facts is. Not to let those two escape justice. Makes his living off of the people's taxes. So, down in Texas, rhymed with he knows just exactly what the facts is. Yeah, that's Steve Miller Band for you. But, that's his thing. That's how you know it's a Steve Miller Band song. Funnily enough, this song appeared, some cover version in a commercial a few years ago, and no one seemed to know what the original was. All they knew was that they hated this version that was in the commercial, which I thought it sold the song short, honestly, because it's a fun song. It's goofy, but... Now, Centerfold is from the Geils album Flashback, and it's a pretty big hit, although it came, I think, a little later than the Best of the Geils Band record came out. That's what I'm hoping, because otherwise the fact that this song was omitted was shameful. But it's another funny story, and it's basically the singer is a man who's, while looking through an shall we call it an adult magazine, sees a picture of a woman that he recognizes in the centerfold of the magazine. And he realizes that it's the pretty popular, unapproachable but much beloved girl that he went to school with. And he suddenly finds himself incredibly confused because he doesn't know how to feel about this. He always had a crush on this girl from afar, and she always seemed so perfect, but also so innocent and so unapproachable. And then here she is in this magazine, and he doesn't know quite what to do about that. So it goes something like this, and it's a little faster. pure like snowflakes, no one could ever stain the memory of my angel who never caused me pain. But years go by, I'm looking through a girly magazine. There's my homeroom angel on the pages in between. My blood runs cold, my memories have just been sold. My angel is a centerfold, my angel is the centerfold. My blood runs cold, my memories have just been sold. Yes, my angel is the centerfold. So that's the verse chorus. Now, as you can hear, it's kind of the same pattern of G, F, C. It's a bit faster, but it's the same pattern, and the chords at the same length. And so, you know, when I noticed that, it was kind of, you know, it's like, okay, there's got to be something to this here. Now, the funny thing, I swear I'm not making this up for dramatic effect. I swear this is how this really happened. I feel pretty sure, like, this thought occurred to me at some point or other, but it wasn't until, like, I essentially thought about it more by having it in my consciousness in a dream. Like, I sort of, I guess, dreamt this segue after sort of thinking, oh, that would be fun to do. I swear, that's how it happened. I'm not trying to be over dramatic. That's how I ended up coming up with this. So, basically, you have two options because the tempos are different. One is to change the tempos of one or the other is to just use the different tempos to your advantage. Now, I personally, in this case, prefer the first one, but I'll show you how to do both. Now, Take the Money and Run is a fairly short, sweet song, so it just has, you know, another verse, and then it's still, go on, take the money and run. Go on, take the money and run. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go on, take the money and run. Woo, woo, woo. Go on, take the money and run. Because I'm a show-off and full of myself, I like to improvise. Improvising to eventually just sort of morph into the melodic riff of Centerfold. Does she walk? Does she talk? Does she come complete? My homeroom angel always pulled me from my seat. And it's a little bit slower than the original recording of Centerfold. I don't really think it matters all that much, honestly. I mean, the tempo of a song is important, don't get me wrong, but in this case, I don't really think it loses all that much if you slow it down a few beats per minute. Now, if you really don't want to, and I don't blame you, as someone, you know, I don't like changing keys unless I absolutely have to, so I'm sure there are plenty who don't like changing tempo unless you absolutely have to. You could do basically the same thing, and you get to the point where you're playing this riff as part of the improvising. And then you could do the technique we've seen in a lot of segues before, which is just sort of holding for 4 beats on the last note of the first song. 2, 3, 4. Just starting the new one at its regular tempo after just that little bit of space to give people a chance to catch their breath. I played this one for my mother because she really loves both songs. She said she kind of likes that one better because it sounds like I've just come up with it on the spot, which I wish I worked that way where I could just come up with segues in the middle of a show on the spot, but it doesn't happen all that often. But in any event, as you might guess, if you do the first way of slowing down Centerfold a little bit so that it matches, you can easily just go right back into Take the Money and Run. And the way I like to do that is Take the Money and Run follows this pattern, but as I mentioned, it has that little turnaround of B flat, F, G. Go on, take the money and run. Every now and then, because it spices it up a little. You can just throw that into Centerfold in the last jam. Angel is the centerfold, my angel is the centerfold. Na 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 na. course, you don't have to go back. You can just end with centerfold, and that's what I recommend doing if you do the tempo change. But as always, you know, I'm just here to present the ideas. You do whatever you want with them. Just one last little connection between these two is they both utilize something in slightly different ways, but it's another little connection between the two of them, is they both prominently use the hand claps for rhythm. Now in Take the Money and Run, in verses 2, 3, and 4 after the first line, went down to old El Paso. There's this little five clap pattern. It's where they ran into a... And then you have it next. Willie Mack is the detective down in Texas. You know, he knows just exactly what... Now, obviously, you know, you can't clap with one hand. You know, I mean, I guess you sort of can. But it's really hard to do that fast. But... So I can't really do that, but anyone who knows the song knows what those are. So you play this in a piano bar, people are going to do the claps. Now, in Centerfold, it's very simple. It's just... It's very much an integral part of the song. So these two songs have the use of hand claps in common. So that's just kind of another fun little thread that weaves them together. So... that pretty much wraps it up. Hopefully you've enjoyed, hopefully you've learned something, and I will see you next time.